Guys, this is Honest Outlaw here, and today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We are at Mr. Guns Below Zero.
All right, I guess we're live.
We're live. What was the title that we came up with?
No title. It just. I know. Every time it asks for title, it asks for all this stuff, and then this time, you get nothing.
So,
We have.
are we sure we're live?
Let's see. Well, we'll double check it. I mean, we're supposed to be live, but we'll double check here in just a second. Yeah, it says we're live.
Live and going, huh?
There we are.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it says we're live.
Live and going, huh?
There we are.
Oh, cool. So,
Yeah,
wow.
says we're live.
No title, no anything. Okay, Live and well,
There
I'm
we edit. I wanna edit it.
not exactly sure what.
Title. What's we title it?
I don't know. I don't know what we were going to talk about.
Me neither. I was thinking about talking about maybe some of the shows we've seen. If you've been watching anything, have you been watching anything?
Not really.
Did you get a chance to watch Terminal List?
No.
Ah,
No. I can't think of the last thing I watched. Been watching The Unexplained
you unexplained.
with William Shatner.
Oh,
It's a TV show.
I don't know what to call. I don't know what the
Yeah.
story.
Well, I mean,
They're
I don't know.
catching up on bullshit.
Are we? Yeah. Are we? Have we accomplished anything? I mean, I know I've called a bunch of places and emailed a bunch of places, but as far as working on our stories, have we gone any further on Town Called Liberty or what?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I'm on vacation.
You're on vacation,
yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, I'm on vacation right now,
Yeah.
which is nice. So
How's
yeah.
that going? You sound like you're spending a lot of time with your kids.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep.
Do you have them?
Yeah,
I mean-
they're at the house right now.
Have they been staying at the house the
Yep.
whole week, or?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, sometimes I think vacation is just a way to go through money faster. Even when you're, if you're traveling, it's worse.
Oh, it's even worse.
But even just staying home, I've been kind of planning out every meal. So, but yeah, it's not cheap.
No. Especially if for you it's probably more a vacation. It's more of the idea of doing something, making sure you're doing something with them every day.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's, well, should we go a movie here or go do this, go do that? And movies are
Well, that's the one.
$80, $100 now.
Right. Yeah, and especially the way I do it. If I'm spoiled, I like to have food and everything. Well, luckily, I mean, I guess it's not really luck. During COVID, a lot of those places that used to offer food don't offer food anymore. It's like, why the hell would I want to go then?
Oh, yeah.
And my kids, even though they've seen it, they keep on trying to talk me into going to see Thor.
Oh, they went and saw it?
Mm-hmm.
You haven't seen it yet?
No.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, Marvel and Disney, they're just trying to.
Right.
They're going to really ruin themselves here. Or at least it's going to just be for a certain audience, that's for sure.
I just don't think they can help themselves.
I think they got some people up in the high up in there who just. Well, that's like a Kathleen Kennedy. You can definitely see what she's doing with Star Wars. You know, anything that she has her hands on is definitely any way to destroy the mainstream male characters from the old days.
Mm-hmm.
That Kenobi series was flat out horrible. It just, well, she had a grown woman trying to act tough and interrogate a 10-year-old. It was
10-year-old.
Yeah, it was so weak. It might have been one of the weakest. Standing over her, trying to be all tough. You know what I mean? Intimidating well, the 10-year-old. What do you expect?
Right.
But the 10-year-old, being the strong woman that she is, stood up firm. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, she'd be shaking in her boots.
Yeah.
It was.
It's funny how.
It was so bad. It was cringe.
Yeah.
How bad it was.
It's funny how the more we talk about stories and the more we talk about other people's stories and stuff, it's like for the left, it always seems to come down to the ends justify the means. I mean, they'll do the most ridiculous thing and then justify it 1,000 times for the reason why they're doing it. And it really just comes down to, well, as long as this is what the ends will be, then, you know, that's the justification. It's like, oh, well, great.
You know those horrible
Gotta make-
workplace videos you have to watch? Like on
well,
safety and everything, you
Yeah.
know, because it's like the whole point is how to do it safely, and then somebody created a scenario to show that.
Right.
You know, well, we want to show them how they're to pick this stuff up properly. Blah blah. Oh yeah, well, we'll just put them in the warehouse and we'll just have blah 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 blah. Boom, there you go. You know, the story and the plot of it and all, it's afterthought. All that matters is getting that message of safety through, and that's what those movies are starting to feel like. It's starting to feel like, here's the message, here's the
Right.
meaning of it, and we'll write some convoluted story around it to carry the package.
Right.
And it is really starting to get clear because the movies are just, they're just crap. And then it's like back in the day during the 80s, 90s, whatever, when rated R movies were rated R movies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd watch a movie and you get done with it and you'd be like, the only reason that movie was rated R is because somebody said the F word 4 times in it. And it didn't need to be in the movie because you could feel how forced it was for when they said it,
Right.
just so they could get the R rating. And that's what these movies are starting to feel like too. These shows and movies. It's like you get all the way through. It's like Love and Thunder. It's all this, and then they have to shoehorn in these moments to just get their SJW rating.
What moments?
Bam, bam. Oh well, so like, you know, the rock creature dude,
Korg.
Quark. So he starts talking about how the way they procreate on his planet is for two guys to go down to this blah blah blah, and then they procreate and blah blah and create a new. And so at the end, they show him meeting his mate, you know, later, blah blah, to go do this. Well, apparently, I didn't notice it, but apparently in the first movie, he talks about his mother.
Right.
So if it's 2 guys, then how does he have a mother?
Or
Right.
is the guy a mother?
No, it was talking about his mom.
It was female.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then now all of a sudden,
Now they don't have
now
a.
it's gay.
Now it's asexual. Or,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry about that stuff. You know.
Yeah.
That's that comic that I showed you about that guy that did his own comic last time. The Eric July guy.
Yeah.
He's been on Tim.
Okay.
You see him on Tim?
Maybe.
He's a major libertarian. But he was his company rules are canon is always canon. So what the character's done in the past will not change to fit the story for today.
Right. Smart.
The customers matter.
Right.
I'm not just going to change my story to fit whatever I want.
Right.
You know, my customers have grown accustomed to my character, so therefore I'm going to provide them with the character that I have. And then the other one is about being transparent. He's been being really transparent about things too. I guess PayPal tried holding up. It's got about $1.2 million of his money that they're trying to hold up on him, and he's been blasting them on YouTube, just
Right.
showing the account, showing, you know, look, you can see the outstanding balance. They're just holding it. He's had to get lawyers involved for them to release it, but a lot of that's due to, you know, he's been on Fox News. He's up over, it's almost up to 3.3 million now.
Nice.
He's sold 30,000 purchases. I don't know if that's all books, but shirts. I think he made shirts, posters in the book. So he has done quite well for his first outing. I'm sure that'll drop off precipitously for his next book.
Why?
Because I think that a lot of the support he's getting right now is just that stick it to the people that are complaining about him. Well, that's like the last guy. That other guy that I told you about, that Richard C. Meyer guy, he put out his book, and it was just kind of, I think it was like 10, 15,000, you know, just kind of. And then there was that whole incident about these comic book stores that got together and colluded to say, if you don't put it on your shelves, I won't put it on my shelves. And they did this on Facebook, where you were able to see the chat line, and somebody went down and screenshotted the whole chat, you know, and told him about it. And so then he sued him.
Wow.
And I don't know, he settled. He shouldn't have settled, but he settled just to get it done with. But he put a bunch of people put all those things online and was showing what these guys were doing, and all of a sudden his campaign just went phew, up to 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. I mean, just bam. It's like, in fact, there's a video for that Eric July. It's like, these guys want to make you a millionaire.
Right.
They live to make you money. It's like his campaign was just going okay, and then all of a sudden, all the bad press that happened, it just keeps on taking off. It's like every time they come after him, it goes up.
Well, yeah. It's funny. Maybe it's just because that's what I've been working on, is that path. You know, I mentioned it in the last podcast. But you know, the path is about how an individual will go through these steps before they justify an evil action. It's funny how it seems like the left is doing all this kind of stuff, changing culture, changing, you know, definitions, changing language, so that as a group the world can justify changing, and morally and everything else, you know, getting rid of the family structure, all this kind of stuff. It's like the path, the same thing we do as an individual, but on a societal level, you know. because when you start changing words and definitions and all this stuff, it's a lot easier to justify things, you know. This will sound horrible, and probably it's kind of like you know, on the abortion topic. I mean, I can go through any topic, but you know, the way that they change language, you know, it was pro-life and pro-choice, but you know, it's because they didn't want to say pro-abortion, you know.
Pro-death.
And you know, I've always considered myself pro-choice, but I was in the safe, legal, and rare camp, you know.
I think most people are. I mean,
But
I think most people are just callous to them. I mean, there are some religious people who, you know, no matter what.
But you know, we, as a society, we've kind of justified this, let's face it, immoral act, you know. And I drank the water just like everybody else, because somebody put together a series of words that sounded good: safe, legal, and rare.
What's fascinating is,
But it's not rare.
you always hear, you know, in, you know, fantasy stories, you know, with wizards and what are they? Rogues? Not rogue. What do you usually call
Like the Rangers.
a ranger or an acolyte? You know, then there's the elf. You know, the assassin, the you know, there's always these the term for each person, right? You know, and wizards always been the people that cast spells and all this stuff. There's a comedian that I had listened to for a while. I haven't listened to him for a while, but he was fascinating because he would call people wizards who can turn words and make you believe them and have you do things.
Well, yeah,
You know, and
because they definitely are.
because he, you know, what he's saying that what they're actually doing when they're twisting the words to get you to do it, they're casting spells. It's wordplay, and I never thought of it that way, because most of the time in movies or in those fantasy things, just like you can correlate a warrior to the acolyte, you can correlate this to that, but the wizard was always kind of these magic, right? But the idea that you can spout words that changes the environment or becomes a weapon or does things, it's like, that's a powerful.
Well, yeah.
That's a powerful being. It's more powerful than I thought it was, and it changes how you think about it. Really,
It changes culture, and yeah, because
and what it really does is, I remember back when I was a kid, and you read the Bible and stuff like this, Moses and going to Pharaoh, and you had the soothsayers and these people in the Old Testament that were these people, these wizards, and you just thought, okay, this is where you lost me. This is where sometimes the book just becomes fantasy, because that's a fantasy character, and it's like, oh wait, that actually now makes a lot of sense. This, what a soothsayer is, and what a wizard actually is.
yeah. Because if you think about it, like a psychology of convincing one person to do something, you know, whether it's their own internal voice doing it or if it's somebody else. I mean, you know, like the ring man during a fight. You know, you go into the corner, you just got the crap beat out of you, and this guy, literally in that short amount of time, builds you up as much as you can, gives you, you know, a shit ton of confidence, and, you know, tells you to go out and, you know, beat the crap out of this guy. And they buy into it 100%, and then they run out there with all their, you know, might and fight.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's amazing what words can do if they're, if you know, I don't know. I mean, it's the, you know, and also the, you know, the changing of words now,
Right.
definitions.
Well, that.
Because I mean, just look at you know, the ATF right now. They're doing now, instead of going through the long, arduous process of trying to pass gun laws, which they are trying to pass horrible things, you know, about assault rifles in Congress right now. But that's a hard thing to do, you know, a direct frontal assault like that. It's easier just to create a body like the ATF, and instead of changing the law, just change the definition of words, and then suddenly all of this stuff, you know, goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Because since assault rifle, and this is another ironic thing in life here, is as pro-gun people, we constantly hate anti-gun people because they start to say things that don't make sense. It's a fully semi-automatic rifle. You know, it's like there's no such thing as a fully semi-automatic rifle. They just make up scary-sounding words, you know, to justify their actions. And what's funny to me is now we're getting to that point where that word assault rifle, it's been used so much that it's in law. It's being written into these bills and different things. And since there's no definition for assault rifle, they have determined, well, then it means anything we want it to mean.
Right.
So now we're screwed by this made-up term, and, you know, but since they've used it enough that it's suddenly a true term. It's just like, you know, transgender, you know, it's this made up thing, you know, that, you know, they just keep on, you know, they keep saying it and saying it and saying it and saying it. I am Zim, I am Zim, I am Zim, I am Zim. And pretty soon we have to use these words, and then we have to go by their definition, and it's unfortunately, the conservatives just sit back and listen, and all this stuff happens, and all of a sudden happens, and pretty soon you wake up one day and you're like, wait, what? Assault rifle has a definition now? It's like, yeah. And the definition is literally anything they want it to be. Congratulations. It's like, but I own all those things that they're describing. Not anymore.
Yeah, it makes me, you know, I mean,
Have you seen that bill that's trying to go through Congress right now? It's literally, it's an assault rifle thing, and they wrote it in there. I mean, if you watch Guns and Gadgets or any of those guys that do this stuff, it's basically any semi-automatic rifle.
really. Well, every gun's semi-automatic.
And then I actually posted on Facebook the other day.
And a bolt action semi-automatic.
Well, no, you have to fire a cycle and fire.
Yeah. Semi-automatic.
But yeah,
That's technically. I mean,
but
yeah.
basically they're trying to outlaw everything. But what's funny is I posted this thing. It happened in Congress. It had this Democrat had a picture of a AR-15 pistol with one of those pistol braces on it, you know. And he said that the pistol brace was designed in such a way that when you hold it and it's strapped to your arm, which was really first designed for handicapped people, anyway, that it functions in such a way that it makes that stock, the pistol brace, it turns it into a bump stock. So the gun goes now. And there's this Republican that goes, you know, and they're like, you know, do you yield time? And he's like, and the Republican's like, no, that does not do that. It has never done that. That is not the reason that was invented. It was invented for people who were handicapped to brace the firearm so they could fire it, you know, and, you know, and he explains the history and everything of that part, and then it goes back to the Democrat who's saying, no, I have seen, no, this turns the gun into an automatic weapon. And no matter what the Republicans said, there was like 5 or 6 people in that, you know, chamber that were absolutely certain that a pistol brace made a semi-automatic firearm into a fully automatic firearm.
That's just because they can say stuff like that, and a lot of people just believe it. They don't know what firearms are. It's like that guy's been on. That one comedian guy's been on Tim Pool's show lately. He's like, I would have believed it. I mean,
maybe
because I didn't know anything about guns. He says I didn't know anything about guns, so you could tell me anything like that. And if you think it comes from a reputable source, then why would I have any reason to not believe it?
Well, I just don't, you know, because I want to know if these Democrats who are standing up in Congress and saying these obviously stupid things, if they know that they're lying, or if they actually believe that this part turns this gun into a fully automatic weapon.
I think they're lying. I think they know they're lying. And they'll say whatever they need to get reelected and on the next committee.
It's crazy. Because I mean, first they came after bump stocks, and most of the conservatives was like, well, there was people that really have fought hard against it, and there's still litigation stuff going on right now. But most conservatives went, I don't care. I don't use bump stocks. And now they're going after pistol braces?
Well, they've been going after them for a long time.
Why? Well, I know that some people will say that they went after pistol braces because it turns your pistol into a short-barreled rifle because you can still shoulder the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And quite a few people still do shoulder the thing, which is, you know, stupid because, you know, I don't understand the whole short-barreled rifle thing. The NFA thing was something that needs to disappear because that was another stupid thing that was written a long time ago. If we got rid of the NFA, I'd be happy as hell. But anyway, but for...
Well, that's the reason why they want to get rid of it, so they can get rid of short-barreled rifles.
Right. But, like, there are... Legitimately, the reason that it was, the poor soldiers would be returning from, you know, whatever war they would fought in, and they'd have lost an arm or lost part of an arm, and for them to shoot a pistol, they needed something that would support it because they don't have a support hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it was invented. Amazing.
Right. Well, yeah, it's all about. I
think the problem that we have is when these things are invented, is we shouldn't make them cool looking. Because as soon as it's cool looking, they want to ban it.
Well, I think the problem...
Because, you know, when they first had the front foregrip on rifles and the stick, you know, just the one that comes on just a stick, I thought that they were kind of ugly. You know, just a stick hanging down that you hold on to. And then they started making the ones that have like a slant to it, you know, Then they started making some that that just had a coolness factor to them. They added like lasers and stuff like that to it, and I was like, okay, that looks cool on a gun. And as soon as that looks cool, they want to ban that thing.
Well, then it gets put in a movie because it's cool.
Right.
Remember those movies from the 80s when they put a scope and a laser on a MAC-10?
Yes.
And
Which is completely useless.
right,
But
it looks cool,
it looks
right?
great. Well, I mean, one of my favorites is I don't know who the gunsmith was that did it, but in the first Blade movie, he was using those MAC-10s, and it had some kind of barrel shroud on it that was square, and so it just looked like this big square box that he had a handle on, and it looked sweet as hell. I was like, wow. And but yeah,
They had that square shroud, rectangle shroud on those Vector Chris,
yes,
and it looks sweet.
uh-huh,
It looks on the 16-inch barrels.
yeah,
Yeah, it looks nice.
yep. Whatever new thing is invented, and if it looks too cool, it's gonna go away.
I was listening to
Because I'm still convinced that's why in California and all those other communist states, why switchblades and butterfly knives are illegal, because they're cool.
Yeah, I don't know
Click.
exactly why butterfly. I guess it's because it can
It opens
become half
fast.
its size.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I guess it opened. I guess because you can do it one-handed. Is
Mhm.
that the reason why?
Yeah, I know.
But the new knives you can flick out too one-handed. But
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of them are the flick, and some of them are spring assisted. But in California, you can't have spring assisted. But those new knives, there's no spring. It's just they use the ball bearings. I can't remember the actual term for it. I'm a knife collector, but they fly open stupid fast. Because
Right.
it's just designed that way. And so I mean, people write these laws. It's like, well, you can't have any a knife that has an assisted opening. It's like, well, they got around that. There's no assisted opening. There's no springs. There's no nothing. It's just, manually opening it, but it just happens to be fast. But they'll figure out a way to get rid of that too.
I mean, I'd like to live in a society where you don't need guns. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, I'd like to tell the entire audience out there right now that every man needs a pocket knife.
I mean, wouldn't it be nice to be able to live in a society where you don't need a gun or a knife on you all the time?
Yeah, I suppose.
Suppose. I mean,
I don't. The thing is I just, from a story background, I don't. Sometimes I think stories, in a way, you really get deep into philosophy of man, and way back when there was Plato and Aristotle and all these great philosophers of the time, they were arguing things like, is man naturally selfish or naturally, giving or whatever. And I fall into the camp where man is a selfish creature, and he's always going to be that way. And like the story that I'm writing right now, The Path, I'm just trying to show that the nature of man, we can talk ourselves into anything.
we can. Although, but
I mean,
the most
as soon as we
powerful-
get to that last part where we're justifying our actions, if we can justify our actions, we will do the most heinous stuff imaginable.
Right. It's just whether or not can you create a society where people choose to do the opposite of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
and that's what's that's like what we're striving for.
Because even
But
in
the idea that you could even have wars, the amount of crime that you do have, physical assaults, and then you want to take away people's ability to defend themselves against that. It's like, let's get rid of all assault. You get rid of assault in your society, and then you can turn around and say, well, what do you need the gun for? Well, somebody's going to break into my home. Nobody's broken into homes for 10 years.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
that'd be a miracle.
It would be, but the whole point of what it means to be human is to strive for that. I mean, that's the whole philosophies behind all the religions, is to strive to that place where the last thing you want to do is hurt your neighbor, which means that's their last thing they want to do to you. And the whole point of existence is helping each other out. That's what the idealistic is.
Well, that would be great, but I don't think Gene Roddenberry designed a universe that, even though the humans had supposedly reached that point in their evolution, then we met other species. But the thing is it's always, in man, there's always going to be fear, which starts people down that, path. Like, people are afraid that they're not going to be able to afford, diapers for their kids, or not going to be good looking enough to find a wife, all of these things. And it's the fear that causes everything else. And so I don't think that there's a way on this planet to get rid of the fear that man feels.
I guess not. I mean, you have to be optimistic enough to try to think you could. The difference is to think that you could build that society. The problem is when you try to force the society. So in the Pearl of Great Price and the Mormon stuff, there's they talk about the city of Enoch, and that's talked about really very little in the Old Testament, but in this it's talked about a little bit more. But it talks about how it was taken up off the earth because all the people had become essentially
Perfect.
godlike. But that society had to have come around by the idea that I wasn't gonna hurt you. I wasn't gonna hurt this person. If somebody come in and tried to sell vice in the city, people just didn't partake of it. And so the person finally, they had to make a living, so they left to go to another city where they could actually peddle their wares, So whatever that vice was, or whatever the things that caused sin, people didn't partake of them, which made them. But if you try to lock that down with law enforcement, no, you can't sell that here. You can't sell. That's how black markets arise. That's how underground speakeasies happen. Look at what happened with Prohibition, right? So you would have to have everybody just start to decide, no, we're not going to drink alcohol because we think it's bad. Not, well, we're going to outlaw it to make you all better.
Right.
And then you won't be tempted by it because there won't be any alcohol around. No. People will figure out how to make it if they want it. The difference is, how do you create that society where people don't want it because they just see it destroy their communities,
Right.
And
I know you're using alcohol, but yeah.
Well, that
It could be any.
alcohol,
It could be
anything, any type of drug, any type of, or anything.
Right.
Gun control, speeding, driving. We do this all on
But I
every aspect.
If we could get rid of that, I always call it the kindergarten teacher mentality.
Yeah.
If we can get rid of that, that would be great. That mentality that says, little Johnny just drew on the wall with crayons, so I'm going to take away the crayons from everybody in the classroom.
Right.
It's like, that's your solution?
Right.
Oh, great.
I mean, we don't need traffic laws if everybody just drove drove like they cared that their actions could kill somebody in another car.
Right.
Right? You wouldn't get in the car drunk or impaired in some way. You wouldn't overly speed. You just wouldn't do things. You wouldn't just change lanes.
Do they still... I guess this would be a question for anybody out there that's listening. Do they still show those blood on the highway, red asphalt? Do they still show those
I
to
don't
kids?
think so. They never showed it to us.
I saw them. I saw every one of them.
Really?
Yeah,
In
they're horrible.
school?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, no, they didn't show it.
We had to actually take a note to our moms and dads, and they had to sign it to allow us to watch those videos.
Really?
Yes.
How did...
And it's horrible, horrible stuff.
What did they say? Chat? No.
What, are you trying to see if chat's on?
Yeah, I just want... It's usually right here. It's like, what happened
Right.
to it?
I don't see it either, but you were closing a lot of things.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say that those movies were, if they kept people from being crazy in cars, doing stupid shit, but it sure as hell didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you
have to think about the reverse side of it, is that somebody had to do that in order for them to show it.
right.
You don't want that.
In a way, they were kind of using fear as a tool to get people to not do crazy things when they're driving. I mean, but there was... So everyone in that movie, everything was an actual scene of an actual crash. They did a reenactment of what they think happened, and they filmed. I mean, I don't know who the camera guy was, but I mean, there's some stuff where it seemed like he was trying to put the camera inside the body. I mean, he was getting so close, filming all this stuff. It's like, wow. But yeah.
That's what Stories and Myths did.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Brothers Grimm.
All of it. Just any type of story and myth.
It was definitely a warning. Just like in that, what's that?
I mean, there's things to fear out
what's
there.
that cartoon? The Croods, where Nicolas
Croods,
Cage, when he's like telling this story, and he's like, and then they died.
Yeah, could you imagine being first? I mean, you'd have to think that once one person died from a spider bite, you'd have to think that every spider you saw
was poisonous, deathly.
was deathly poisonous. Then you would think that every snake you saw was that way, and then you would think that any animal you saw was gonna chew you up.
Right. The thing is, I mean, I think the best thing for our society, in trying to reach this perfect world that you're talking about, where everybody lives to serve and serves to live, is...
No, you don't serve to live, just live to serve.
Right.
Because serve to live would be the totalitarian version of that.
But
if you're not nice to your neighbor, I'm going to kill you.
We'd have to somehow
What?
get rid of fear.
Oh yeah, well, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking. The only way you can get rid that you can justify to me that we no longer need guns is I have to be rid of the fear that I'd ever have to use one for protection.
Right.
Whether that's from an army, whether that's from a domestic army, or whether that's from thugs and bullies.
You know, it's funny. The other day, my son wanted to show Evie a fantastic movie that he found. You know, because she thought that she'd like it, and he actually he talked her into it, which is amazing. But
She not a
we
movie
watched.
person?
No, she loves movies, but just certain kinds. But she just watched Chappie for the first time,
Really?
and
That
you know, I
movie's
was thinking about there's the
All right.
scene when he first gets put into the body and turned on, and he you know, is very, they described him as baby like at that point, where, you know, and he immediately runs behind stuff, and he's really cautious, and he doesn't know what to think of these people who are talking to him. And, you know, they're like, come on, it's okay, you know, trying to coax him out and stuff. And I think that is naturally the way all humans are. Is deep down on the inside, you're not sure about anything.
No, but that's what's good about humans is that we learn.
We're naturally cautious things.
Well, yeah, and you have to be. You can't just go stand in the middle of a tornado.
Right.
You can't go outside in a lightning storm with a sword up in the air, or, you know, a piece
Right.
of metal. You can't just have 100 pounds of clothing on you and jump in the water.
So I think that that
I
natural cautiousness is actually, we're naturally fearful of everything.
right, but I think a lot of I mean, and look, we have rid a lot of that fear out of us.
I think the
You
only
know?
way, the only true way to combat fear is education.
Right. When you educate yourself on how to keep the fear away from you,
Right.
then that's fine.
We made fire, and that kept the bugs and the animals away at night. Fucking great.
And then we learned how to keep fire contained so it didn't burn our house down and with us inside of it.
Right.
Right? It's the same thing with guns, though.
Right.
It's the same thing. Well, yeah, we have them for right now because there are people and there are governments and there are ideologies out there that are still have the mindset to come take your stuff in your life, the stuff that you built, away
Right.
from you. Until we can change that, you have to, you know, you really should, you need to keep those things.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're fine with just people being hurt. You know, it's just like Bill Maher was talking, the Coleon Noir was on his show.
Yeah, I saw it.
And, you know, Coleon should have just, he started to, he told them, well, it's easier for you, but, you know, people that look like me, you know, we live in harder areas, you know, tougher areas, and we still need protection, you know.
Right.
Coleon's a black guy, you know, because Bill Maher's like, really, does people really need guns? He's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, there's, you know, people like me tend to live in rough areas. And he just kind of said, I can't remember what he said to him, but it was so dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have, oh my gosh, if ever there's the time to say, wow, that was old white of you.
Yeah.
I mean, just need to dig that dagger into him
Mm-hmm.
and just drive home. They did it. They were sitting there complaining one day on that show about how the Republicans, all these old white rich people, telling you how to think
Mm-hmm.
and do. And the person just sat there, just was like, and didn't have anything to come back to because the audience went crazy. Should have been the first person that said, "Old white guy, old white guy, old white guy."
Mm-hmm.
You're old, white, and rich. You're old, white, and rich. You're old, white. So what's the difference? Well, no, you're old, white, rich. You're doing the same thing. Stop telling everybody else how to think.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But like you said, you need a gun until people like that aren't willing to use their power and their words in violence against you. Because they will come take and they will leave you with nothing. This whole... Britain brought in socialism at a time when it was never built up as much as what we're built up to with neighborhoods, I think. I mean, I know that there's nice brownstones there, but nobody other than lords have estates.
Right.
Really. They're country homes, but even their country homes are not very giant. They're not mansions.
Right.
They're just a country home. You go and see them walking around in them now, and the walls are paper thin. They're very small living spaces. I saw a thing with Stephen Fry was doing some show, and he had people over to his place, and he had a little country home. He has, for him that's probably a lot of money, but it was still just a small country type of living. It wasn't no palatial manor, none of these Bel Air, Beverly Hills mansions and things like that. How are they going to turn everything socialist here when people have, 5,000 square foot homes, 10,000 square foot homes, all these mansions, oh, well, yeah, they get to keep those because they were on the right side of, but you people, you all have to get crammed into the projects and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be bad. And what I said this before, you go watch that movie Bright on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Seen it?
Have you seen it with
Yeah.
Will Smith?
Mm-hmm.
So in that, I think the allegory is supposed to be that the bright people were I don't know who they were in that, but they were just not bright, but the goblins,
Mm-hmm. Orcs.
the orcs.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those are Republicans. They're going to be the ones that were trying to saw what evil that the elves were doing and the authority and the authoritarianism that the elves wanted to exact over everybody. They helped rise up against them, and then because of that, they were just slaughtered and then put into ghettos,
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that. It's what people want to do to Republicans right now. And
Yep.
Republicans, libertarians, constitutionalists. I'm just saying Republicans as a catch-all to anything other than a Democrat.
Right.
That's even a centrist and a moderate.
Because yeah, on the way over here, I was listening to Sunday Uncensored on Timcast, IRL,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the one with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it seems like a lot of the super rich right now are all Democrats.
Oh, they're all, a lot of them.
And it's, what I want to know is, yes, some people are waking up to the fact, but it's like, I just don't understand, like, these old school liberals, why they don't go, wait a second, these people are everything I was fighting against, They just don't see it sometimes.
because now it's on their side, so it's okay.
Right.
It's okay to be rich on their side now. It's bad whether or not you built a corporation, built a, that's what's so fascinating about Atlas Shrugged. The whole story of Henry Reardon and his steel.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
was to destroy him
mm-hmm.
for his creativeness, ingenuity, and then his drive to build it into an empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but when it's done on the other side, now it's okay. Now, but we still want your industry to provide for us. It would be quite interesting to see what would happen in an amicable divorce if people just said, okay, here's how we're going to switch up this. These states are going to be this, these states are going to go here. How many businesses and stuff like that would pull out of those red areas, go blue, and then what would be left being made by one side compared to the other side?
Well, the thing is I'm of the opinion that
Could be quite interesting.
There's a number of people in the world, and there's the majority of them are workers, people who make things, who invent things, who create things. Then there's those others who has decided that they don't need to make anything, that they can just take it, or in some instances, people for some reason just give them things. And it just depends on what type of person you are. If going to the amicable divorce, I don't think that a split is possible, because I don't think that people who are takers, a split is possible, are just going because those. I don't think that people who are takers, a split is possible, are just they're not making or manufacturing anything. I don't think that.
Right.
So I don't think a split is possible without a war. There's no such thing as this pleasant divorce, unless, they want the power. And that means they want all of the things that the creators create.
Well, that's what's going to, Tim keeps talking about that with the military bases, come down to, wait, those are ours, and be like, not anymore. But not anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I do believe that, though, because, they're going to do whatever they can to try to hold that business into their state. But that's what I mean, though. But if you could just up your business and move it
mm-hmm.
into a quote-unquote blue state, whatever, or red, or blue.
Red.
In a red state,
mm-hmm.
it's like, it'd be quite fascinating to see what companies are left on one side and what kind of companies are left on the other side.
Right.
Would you have much manufacturing left over on the left?
No. Like I said, there's creators and takers, and they don't make anything. They instead elect fancy officials to write laws that force you to give away your product that you invented.
That's why Atlas Shrugged is such an interesting book. If you can get over the 50s vernacular,
Mm-hmm.
it's really good. It's very wordy, unfortunately. And
It was a quick read for me.
was it?
Yeah, I mean it's only about yay big. It's not like reading Stephen King.
But it's definitely, you just watch it and you look at it or read it and you just marvel at what's happening right now and you're just like, wow,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. It's almost like a blueprint. You know, they had in the book they were talking about how there's so many people out of work or so many people just doing the 9 to 5 just to survive. So they couldn't care about the policies, and it made it sound like they had almost destroyed the economy to keep the people in that way. And they did it through justification of, well, everybody needs to have it spread across. I mean, it is amazing. It is a her modern way of communism was fascinating, and it is really playing out like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The way they come and stole his formulas for how to do steel.
Mm-hmm. That's what would happen.
And it's fascinating. The only person I've seen so far that we've heard big enough to pull the stunt that they did in the book of a CEO up and moving his company has been Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first one I know of, or that we've heard big enough that he upped and pulled out of California and said, "No, nah. Yeah, I'm going to go somewhere where, my company's more protected."
Somewhere where I'm not hated. Because that's what it feels like is, these businesses go to these certain states, and the states just hate them.
Right.
It's like, wait a second. I'm providing jobs for the people here. I'm providing, comfort, food, etc. And you guys hate me.
And how many of you use my products?
Right.
That's what's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these liberals that use Teslas and then want to turn around and make it harder for him to make them?
Right. Therefore more expensive. Yeah, I know.
What's the logic of that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard enough anyway. I mean, China pretty much controls all the lithium. It's like, congratulations. Way to paint yourself into a fucking corner. It's like, okay, we've, basically destroyed all the other, possibilities of making, these gas cars, and we've, raised the prices of gasoline and all this kind of stuff. We're going to get off of fossil fuels no matter what. We've promised the people that we're going to get off fossil fuels. By the way, this is what the first fucking book of Town Called Liberty is about. We promised the people that we were going to get off fossil fuels, and goddamn it, we got off fossil fuels. There's no way. I mean, it's... Politicians promise this shit, and what's really funny is that they, in their own mind, they actually think they can deliver this shit. But they don't manufacture anything. Politicians don't do anything but talk. And we're going to destroy the economy, destroy the middle class, all in the name of forcing everybody to get on electric. And then the ironic thing is once everybody's on electric and they're all plugging in their cars in at night, there's not going to be enough power. I guarantee you there's not going to be enough power to power all those fucking vehicles. You think we have rolling blackouts now? You just wait. I guarantee you.
We can't even make gasoline cars right now.
Yep.
They don't have computer chips for those.
Right.
How are we going to replace every car in the world with electric?
Right.
It's infeasible.
Right. And I don't care what anybody says.
Not only that,
I like classic cars.
oh yeah. So if gasoline, so if fossil fuels is creating global warming, right? And we're worried about the world heating up because of
Mm-hmm.
fossil fuels. We were sat in a room where a lot of electronics are on and are being used. It gets hot.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen to the world when everything
Right.
is electric and on?
Right. Well, like that giant database that we have here in Utah that I live next door to, that huge listening post out by Camp Williams. I mean, the rumor is that thing goes down like 5 stories into the ground, and it's a giant database that's water cooled.
Yeah.
I mean, because one of the
I think they have to pipe the water.
I can't
in, too.
remember whether it was if it was a governor or something, but the governor wanted to stop us from being listened on. They wanted to shut off the water because if you can't cool those machines down, they just don't work.
Right.
But obviously, he was unsuccessful
Unsuccessful.
at that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, to cool all this stuff down.
Right. You can't.
Yeah.
You need electricity to cool the electricity. So my computer has a water pump fan on it, but you got to have electric fans
Mm-hmm.
to cool the electronics in it. They get hot. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and even that, you sit in the room with it, and it's warm. These monitors create heat on them, and it's gotten better. But we got the little air conditioner in the window, so that's making a big difference on keeping it cool.
Yeah.
But you take that off, and it's hot in here, and these things are hot. Not only that, I still wonder about the recyclability of electric batteries and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
battery acid, toxic corrosions,
Well,
toxic fumes from batteries.
lithium itself being really, really, really toxic.
Lithium's toxic, yeah. And is there enough lithium? Not enough. What?
Right. Is it?
Is there enough lithium
Right.
to create electric cars for everybody, electric air conditioning, electric heaters, electric
Mm-hmm.
power plants, electric airplanes, electric space shuttles, electric. I mean, every little thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a question.
Isn't that going to be a fossil fuel that we talk about soon that we have to get off of?
Right. That's the thing that I'm wondering. Because there are some.
Or a natural resource that we have to get off of?
Right. Because
It's not renewable.
that's what I was wondering. Because there are scientists that actually argue about whether there's a finite amount of oil or not. Because there's, they say that, there's one group that says that, yes, there's a finite amount of oil, and pretty soon we're just not going to have oil.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another group of scientists that say, well, it is possible that the Earth is constantly creating oil out of all the dead matter that, and so it's constantly creating oil. I don't know which one I believe. But I don't know of anything. What creates lithium?
I thought lithium was just a metal.
Yeah. So it's not like dead animals dying and, eventually become oil.
Yeah.
That-
Is that a finite resource?
Right. With lithium, it just seems like that would be really finite. So I just, I don't understand why we switch from one to another. But anyway, yeah.
The damn logic rabbit holes just get you every time.
All right. I just don't.
Maybe we're wrong. Let's hear.
Maybe.
We can Google it.
But here's a question that I have for people regarding oil. Right now, when I go to the store, or should I say like a Jiffy Lube or an oil change place, in my car,
Lithium is a non-renewable
renewable,
mineral
right?
that makes renewable energy possible.
Anyway,
Will it become the next oil?
right. But going back to the oil, when I go to the to get an oil change for my car, I always get full synthetic. For everybody that's listening, what is synthetic oil?
I don't know.
Go ahead and type that one in. As far as I know, it's a man-made oil,
Probably, yeah, it should be.
meaning that they manufactured the oil. If we can make oil, can that same oil be turned into gasoline?
Synthetic oil is lubricant consisting of chemical compounds that are artificially made. No, I think
Because it's just like diamonds. Like, for instance, we have the ability now to make diamonds. You can take any carbon and superheat it and compress it and make a diamond. You can make it a diamond out of a lot of different things now. My question is if since we can make diamonds, the value should have just plummeted. Which, I just don't understand why everybody, still considers a diamond a precious thing that they found. No, we can make it. So the value is gone. Poof. That's the way it should be. There should be no value to diamonds at all. Now, same with oil. If we can make this thing that we used to have to search out and dig for, we can now make it. Doesn't that just drive the value down more?
well, the difference might be that the oil that we refine to make gasoline, the refining process of that, we can turn into gasoline, whereas synthetic oil is pretty much lubricant.
Look it up. See if Google says that. Can synthetic oil be turned into gasoline? Yes, you've become my Jamie.
I don't think so. I'm just thinking it's just a really good lubricant for your engine parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But I mean, if the chemical properties of synthetic are the same as the chemical properties of oil, then it should be able to be turned into fuel.
Yes.
Yes. So synthetic oil can become gasoline. So what the fuck? I don't get it. This is right now we're going through a fuel crisis where the price has gone up, et cetera, et cetera. If we're making synthetic oil, and I know we're making billions of gallons of it because you can go to any place and get synthetic oil, why is there a crisis?
Oh, because they want you off of oil.
Duh.
Well, I mean, they said the hurt. We're gonna go through the hurt now for better, and that, all those.
Right. But
all those,
what I don't understand is if they want to stop the drilling, if they want to stop the digging, if they want to stop the oil spills, why is it an issue now? Since synthetic oil can be made by man and then turned into gasoline, why is it a thing? I think I just hurt your brain. I just don't get it.
I didn't read the whole thing. One concern commonly raised about the development of synthetic fuels plants is sustainability. Fundamentally, transitioning from oil to coal or natural gas or for transportation fuels production is a transition from one inherently dependable or depletable geologically limited resource to another. I think what they're talking about is because they make the synthetic oil from garbage.
Okay.
So then we create a lot of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a plant in northern Nevada that has now been able to start creating or refining synthetic oil for fuel for airplanes. I guess after the Environmental Protection Agency rule change, after 5 years, the EPA finalized the rule sought by Fulcrum Bioenergy's Sierra biofuels plant in Story County. So I guess they've been asking to do that. I'd imagine they can do it cleanly. I don't know. The only bad part about some of the things is you always create something. You create a process to create one thing, and then there's a byproduct from it sometimes, and sometimes that byproduct is worse than the cure. Like whether it's
Right.
gas emissions from it or waste that has to be disposed of afterwards in landfill. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it.
So I don't. I mean, we could look up this. Hey,
Yeah, I just don't know. Sometimes I just don't understand why, like, especially going back to diamonds. Why are diamonds still expensive?
but to turn it for airplanes is because airplanes suck a lot of gas. So
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just good to know that it can be done. Because I've wondered about this one for a little bit, you know. So,
we
Ty-
talked about
type in on Google here, why are diamonds still expensive?
because we still value them.
So that's pretty much what the manufacturer of glasses said. They asked him, you know, how do you justify these prices, you know? And he says, glasses are fashion is it's worth what anybody's willing to pay for it.
Yeah, that's just like the housing market right now. How can you justify paying $300,000 over the actual value of a home?
Right.
Because you want it that badly. And people have valued it and are willing to pay.
It's ridiculous.
If you, I was talking with neighbors here, and that's what they're like. Well, if you valued it, then you'll pay whatever price they'll ask for it.
I'm still curious though. Can you type into Google? Why are diamonds still expensive? Because it hurts my brain that diamonds, since you can literally turn anything into a diamond now.
I don't know.
Why are
I
things?
don't know if they can still create. They can I don't know if they can actually create.
Lab-made diamonds now are indistinguishable from the real thing.
I know they're close, but I don't know if they're.
Nope.
I don't.
Indistinguishable.
Well, but I still don't know if they're property for property, the same as a diamond. Their industry, I think, from looking at it, but
I don't know. It's the same process, except Mother Earth's not doing it. Humans are doing it. Why are diamonds still valuable?
sentimental value.
Well, there's one. Sort of.
One myth: diamonds are expensive because they're so rare. Myth number 2: the bigger the diamond, the more it costs. Myth 3: the world's diamond supply is depleting.
Wrong.
Mythbusters: so what makes diamonds so valuable? Market demand.
Yep. Because, yeah, I mean, they're definitely not rare anymore.
I know Laura wears a fake ring, fake
Right.
diamond, and everybody always compliments her on that thing.
Yeah.
She's
But yeah, I
always-
mean, as soon as man takes something and is able to recreate it in a lab and make these things, I just don't understand why all of the, like the price of oil, for instance, it comes from speculators. People are speculating on the inflow of oil versus the shortage of oil, and that's what they base the prices on, for gasoline, etc. I just don't understand when humans have the ability to manufacture this thing that they traditionally had to dig out of the ground. I don't understand why that doesn't lower the price. Because
Well, probably, first of all, a lot of times the process to change it or to create it is expensive.
probably.
That's just like the electric cars. Why are they so expensive? Well, one of the parts is
Lithium.
yeah, I mean, you mine it out of one country, ship it over to another country where the battery gets made, ship the battery to the company where the car gets made, and then ship the car back to the country where it was mined. When Prius was first started being made from Toyota, they were saying that the amount of fossil fuel is made or used to make one battery would be the same as an average car running for 10 years on
Right.
fossil fuel. So then if your car lasts 10 years and
But
and then electric cars, their batteries are only supposed to last 6-7 years, and then you would need a new battery even if it lasted the 10 years, and then you had to buy a new battery again. You're not saving any fossil fuels.
here's another question.
All you're doing is putting a toxic thing into the ground.
Right. But once again, when you switch over to electric, I'm saying that we've manufactured a synthetic oil that is better for your car than oil dug up from the ground. Now, my question is can it be refined into gas? Yes, we found that out. It can be refined into gas. Is it a cleaner burning and less damaging to the environment than traditional oil that's turned into gasoline?
That I don't know. I might be highly skeptical of that because of the chemicals that probably went into making it in the first place.
Right.
Uh,
It's just man creating the chemicals versus,
Well, but the difference is, and it's never. You look at a soda, a sugar drink with sugar in it, and then a sugar drink with man-made sugar in it, and the amount of ingredients in the second one versus the first one, there's just more chemicals.
Right.
Is it the same?
No, it definitely doesn't taste the same.
Well, it's not. Yeah, and so sometimes I think that we want to say it's the same, but it's not the same.
Right.
It's not exactly.
Right. But my question is it not the same in a good way, meaning that it's cleaner burning, cleaner?
Probably not. Not
Right.
if there's more crap in it.
I don't know.
That's what I would speculate that there's more chemicals and crap in it to make
I don't
it.
know. Why is it better in a car? Why does it make my car last longer? You know, because what they say, the reason why the sales pitch for synthetic oil versus regular oil is that it's cleaner and there's less tiny deposits that you don't know are in there that cause wear and tear on your engine. And so, you know, it's just like when you're a smoker and you're smoking cigarettes, it's not the tobacco or the nicotine that's, you know, killing you. It's all the tar and other chemicals that they put in there as preservatives to, you know, make the tobacco last longer. That's what's, you know, doing all the damage. So if synthetic is actually a cleaner version of oil than you can find in the ground, does it burn cleaner?
It'd be 3 times more expensive.
Probably. Because
'Cause how
it is more expensive to get a full synthetic oil change than it is to get.
Well, not just that, but how much is one of those little a
Quarts.
liter?
Quarts.
Quart?
Yeah.
So how many quarts are in a gallon?
4.
So I need 4 of those. So how much is 1 quart of synthetic oil?
It's not cheap.
So then, how much is the gasoline going to cost for making out of that?
Right. I know.
10 times as much.
I know. But overall, what I'm saying is this should overall drive down the price of something. Because if we can manufacture it, just like diamonds, if we can manufacture something, it should drive down the price. It's exactly another argument that I have is when we started 3D printing things, you can basically 3D print a Glock frame, because a Glock frame is a plastic. That should have driven down the price of Glock.
No.
You would think, but it didn't.
Well, no, it doesn't, because you're. My brain. Sorry, it's just Glock has quality assurances that they have to
True.
put in place to make sure that your gun's not going to blow up in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to 3D print one, and you think it printed it without any flaws, and you think you're okay,
Right.
then
Well, I'm not talking about the frame. You know, that's metal. And all that kind
the
of,
handle. I'm
just
sure.
the handle.
If you think that your 3D printed handle was printed with not a little flaw that's going to send that slide back into your head, that Glock has spent millions and millions and millions of dollars to make sure in their R&D that that's not going to happen.
Right.
Then by golly, you go ahead and you print that $75 part, because God, I love you. Go do it. Do it. I don't care.
People are
I'm
doing
gonna
it
go-
all the time.
That's fine. I'm going to go buy the $700 one from them.
See, it's people like you that are driving up the price.
No. It's people that haven't had one slam in their head yet that don't realize what's.
Right.
I'm just saying. Not only that, but how did you 3D print it without stealing their design?
Well, it's available online now.
Well, yeah, because somebody
Right.
scanned it
Yeah,
and stole it.
stole it. Right.
Yeah.
Duh.
As people that are creatives, you know, the idea of just stealing somebody else's product is
True.
should be a red flag.
True.
On top of that, but
But
why does it not drive down? It doesn't. It drives down because, oh well, since somebody can print it, I'm going to give it to you cheaper. Hell no, you're buying it from me because I say its quality is up there for the safety that's not going to blow up in your hand.
right.
By all means, print out your own. I don't give a shit. Hey, and if it blows up in your face, don't come to me.
Right.
Don't come to me and say it was my design, because my design seemed to work just fine. But it
Right.
had to be a flaw in your printing process.
Right. But I mean, I know people that their entire business or side gig actually is they take their CNC machine that they have and they find the most expensive part for the most, Gucci gun owner out there. Like, for instance, the front trunnion on an M60, and they'll manufacture just that part. Why? Because each one of those parts are $5,000 each. And when you can push a button and go print, and it goes cut, spit, cut, spit, cut. You can actually sit there and go 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that figures out how to manufacture something cheaper.
And, if you hold value in it, then go buy it from that person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine.
Yep.
But once again, if it blows up, guess who I'm suing? I'm not suing the gun manufacturer.
It's made out of metal, same as any other.
I'm just saying. That doesn't mean anything.
It's probably superior to the ones that were originally made in Germany or whatever.
Could be. If it's made with better metal, higher tolerances.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying it could, but the Glock frame, that I wouldn't trust
No?
to a 3D printer. No.
Why? How do you think Glock makes it?
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you know? Are you printing exactly to their recipe to the
Probably.
polymer?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No.
I don't go do it. Go do it. By all means, go do it.
Well, it's just like, there's some guns like the MAC-10 that we were talking about. Literally bent sheet metal is what that thing is made out of. That gun should not be as expensive as it is. The fucking thing is expensive as hell.
Yeah.
And really, the reason why that one is is as expensive as it is it's just that it's no longer manufactured in certain places.
It's popular.
But if manufacturers would continue to just crank those things out, it would suddenly become that
I don't understand why
Ford Festiva of cars.
Why an MP5 is so freaking expensive. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I can kind of understand the automatic versions or whatever, select fire thing. But even they started remanufacturing a semi-auto version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they still want $4,500 for it.
Well, the fact that it's really hard to find an actual HK here in the United States because import bans and all that kind of stuff. But there are American companies that are actually producing HK product type stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I look on Gunbroker, and one will pop up every now and then. But it was like $25,000 for full select. And then I was talking to a guy down at the store, and he was saying it would take you another 3 years to actually get the firearm.
Right.
And processing all the paperwork and background to purchase a fully automatic weapon.
But I think what we've discovered in this entire conversation is really value, or the reason that we pay prices for things, is not anything it's man messing with the market that is what makes people willing to pay different things.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the end story of Atlas Shrugged, right? She goes to that special city that they created.
The hidden city.
Yeah, the hidden city, and they go to a concert for this diva.
Mm-hmm.
And was it a quarter? Or was it $1.25?
I don't know.
I think maybe it was 50, it was something like that. It was some ridiculous price, maybe $1.25 for a seat.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, in Manhattan, when she played before, these seats were $25 or $50, you know, and they were saying, well, yeah, it's here. That's what she needs to be able to buy her
Stuff,
living
right.
expenses, and then
Right.
have a little extra savings, you know.
Right.
So
Because yeah, it's just like
it wasn't so much that people were saying, "I'm only going to pay $1 for your concert." Half of the price gouging has to come from the manufacturer too, to say, well, you know, we do make 400% off this gun, you know, so if we were just make 200%, then we'll cut the price in half. You get a savings for that. We get you know, we still make money.
right.
You know, blah blah blah, and so it's a two-way street that way too. And the other part is going to her concert a value? Is it worth the value of the $1.25 or whatever it was, or even the $50 in Manhattan? You know, so it must. You know, I mean, movies today are, goodness gracious,
Yeah.
how
But-
much.
Yeah, I would love to go back in time and see exactly when the American dream died, because you know the American dream used to be a husband and wife living at home with 2.5 children or whatever they used to say, but 2 or 3 kids, and the husband worked, the wife stayed home. Everything was was this vision of what I guess some people would call perfection. But there was a certain point in time when we couldn't do that anymore, because one person couldn't make enough money to buy a house, let alone sustain a family in a house. I don't know what year it was, but there was some year where all these women entered the workforce, as women's liberation and blah, 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 that was going to be, but
Civil Rights Act
now-
in the 70s.
now nobody can afford a home on their own. Some people can't afford a home as a couple.
Yep. But they
So,
say
yeah,
now you need
that
to have
American-
a 6-figure income in order to be able to buy the
Yeah.
average home.
Now, I mean,
$100,000.
that American dream is dead. Even my family, even my parents, there was a certain time. It was in California when we were living there, where Mom was working also. When we lived in Oklahoma and Dad was working, there was 5 kids in a house and Mom was home. At one point she did, I don't remember when that was though, she was a school lunch lady for a moment. I can't remember when that was, but eventually when we lived in Oklahoma, we were pretty much, Mom was at home and all the kids were at home. So yeah.
My mom worked a little bit off and on, pretty much secretary for my dad.
Right.
But she never had a job that I know of outside of that. As
Yeah.
working as his secretary. And that was only when I was in high school.
So yep,
All through elementary school, she was always home.
I was born in 1972. So somewhere things changed a lot.
In the 70s. And lately they've been pushing it. They've told women that a career is just as important as having a family, or even more important.
Well,
and I've talked about this before too. I talked on, I don't know about on podcasts, but I talked about how about 10 years ago, this was Happy Valley, Utah Valley was one of the highest per capita for what do they call mood enhancer for
opiates?
no, not opiates.
Huh?
What's antidepressants
Oh, yeah.
for antidepressants, you know,
Which is an opiate, so yeah.
and I thought about that for a long time, you know, and you send these girls to school and they use their brain. They go for a year or two, maybe even graduate, but they go for a year or two, they're using their brain, they're being, you know, blah blah blah, and then they go get married and then start having kids. Now they're at home with 4 kids, and you showed them this over here, and now they're living that. So I understand you don't want to stifle somebody's ability to go off and make a career, and yet on the other side, I understand the idea of how important it is for kids to have a parent at the home, you know.
Right.
You know, to always know, even when they're coming home from school, somebody's going to be there. It's always
Yeah.
somebody to help.
And when we were living in Livermore, California, and I was in high school and junior high, Mom was working as a bookkeeper at a church. And yeah, pretty much bookkeeper at a church. Everybody came home from school, and you know, everybody had a key to the house. You'd pretty much come home and do your homework or whatever you're supposed to be doing. And you know, us kids pretty much fed ourselves, so that's the way it was.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time I was in high school, I mean, I was the baby of the family. All the other kids, they were at the point of leaving home. So, but, you know, I had a different experience than some of my older siblings had, because they left home, and then we moved to some really horrible areas of California.
Oh.
It's like, okay, welcome to South Sacramento. Do you have a bulletproof vest? Well, you should get one. So, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of bulletproof vests, that's one of those things that proves that gun control and stuff has nothing to do with them trying to get guns off the streets so they can save lives. Because they say they're saving lives, but and a lot of these gun control bills, they also are outlawing body armor.
Body armor.
Can you please explain to me how somebody takes a piece of body armor and does a mass shooting? How they kill anybody with this piece of armor? What, they take the AR-500 steel and they literally beat the person to death with it? I mean, how is this law saving lives? Taking something that is made 100% for defense and outlawing it. Wake up.
Because they're using it for defense.
Like, wake up. The
the
government wants you passive and easily controlled.
Because the person doing the harm is using it.
Yes. That's what they say.
It's all from those Russian guys from L.A. back in the 80s that tore up those cops.
Well,
or
yeah,
the 90s.
Right. There was the bank robbery that went wrong. Yes.
Those guys were all flak jacket out.
They were decked out, but so what?
They had body armor up and down. Well, I mean, how do you take away a pistol from a woman? I mean,
Right.
I thought we just got done with hashtag Me Too. The whole
Yeah.
point of every man's out to rape a woman. So wouldn't you automatically just issue every woman
Gun.
a gun?
It's like, oh, congratulations, it's
You
a
haven't
girl.
you
Here's
haven't
your gun.
Yeah, you haven't even given them a taser.
Right.
Shouldn't they all be carrying a taser
Right.
just automatically?
And or design women's clothes to have like a safety device in it, so as soon as you get close to them, it just sprays pepper spray in all directions.
Yeah, or why don't we fit them all with the chastity belt?
Right. There you go. Perfect.
Can only be unlocked at home with the secret combination.
Yep. Yeah.
No, it's kind of interesting though. You look back on humanity and you say, what were they thinking with some of these inventions? The chastity belt. What were they thinking? Oh, I mean, they were trying to make sure their daughters didn't get raped by some
Right.
stupid nobleman or some stupid person that thought they had the
right.
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. Right? I mean, they're just so old and antiquated and outdated. It's amazing how these things just kind of keep coming back around as to well, maybe, just maybe, pushing progressive ideas is bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a movie on HBO. It was out in theaters. The Duel, what's it called? The Duel? The Last Duel?
Yep.
So it was Matt Damon and Adam Driver.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh.
Saw the cover or whatever you want to
But
call it.
that's pretty much what that's about. This guy, his wife kind of flirts with this guy a little bit. And because he did it with the landowner, the nobleman, he just thought, she wants me. I'm in love with her. So she wants me. So he went to her home and raped her. And just in his mind, it was justified.
Mm-hmm.
So Damon's character calls him out in lieu of losing everything, because if you wrongfully accuse a nobleman or somebody like in his position, he was a tax collector. He was the guy who went around collecting taxes for the land baron, who was Ben Affleck, which was funny. Who was constantly had 3 or 4 of the girls from around the area there that they constantly did everything to, and he pretty much told Adam, "Oh, there's the girl. That's what she's here for. So go take it." So they were just doing that to these girls, and so when he thought that she showed affection to him, that he could just go ahead and take it from her too,
Right.
and that it was okay because of who he was or all blah blah, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and she was willing to say no and stand up, and accuse him, which took it all the way to the king, which, like, they were, if they get wrongly accused, it's everything's gone. They will kill him. They'll kill her husband for wrongly accusing him. They're probably going to kill her. I think they had her tied to a stake, actually, ready to be burned at the stake. So he challenged him to rule of combat. So just like in Game of Thrones, so it's like, if I win, then God was on my side, so I must have been telling the truth. If you win, then I was lying. And therefore, death to him. His wife, they tied her to stakes with wood underneath her, ready to be set on fire.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he lost, they went out and jousted and had the duel. And
It's funny though. I mean, once again, I think it's just because it's fresh in my mind, and I'm always thinking in those terms now. I'm always thinking, putting everything in that path thing, and it is amazing how, yes, in the past and also, unfortunately now, people are more and more convincing themselves that there is a caste system, and they're at a certain ranking, and everybody below them, society tells them, and they believe it in their mind that they're superior to all these other people, therefore they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Which is what the whole point of any progressive thought, of any of these things, is supposed to. You're supposed to be driving back the other way.
Right.
You're supposed to pull that one down, pull this one down. Then everybody's, instead of just wait, what? Oh, okay. Now we changed it. These people are up high. These people are low. Okay, let's pull everybody. Whoops. Right.
Because that's the problem with when they're trying to socially engineer. They're if you're to believe pure communism is supposed to be everybody's equal, everybody chooses or works together, blah blah blah, but there's always a leader, there's always a caste system. I mean, that's what that stupid movie Snowpiercer was about.
Yeah.
The further you get to the front of the train, the higher the class. All the people that are worthless pieces of crap are in the back of the train.
Right.
And it's like, that is what we need to change in this world, is these people that, I guess they're born into it, and from the moment they're born, their parents, I guess, just tell them constantly that you're better than everyone else. You are actually a god living on this earth, and everybody should worship you constantly.
Well,
and they believe it.
It's so, I don't know, but that's communism in its old, right? What you just said, right?
Right.
They shouldn't be told that, so you're just the same as me, so you have no special power. That's the basis of what communism is about, right? Those things. Well, the difference is how do you push man to their highest levels of humanity, but yet keep people humble and willing to just and willing to live a humble life. That's the tough part. That's where we can't be able to figure out. There's people who do it.
Yeah.
That's what, once again, Eastern mysticism, most religions are all trying to teach you you're supposed to reach for the highest level of attainment that a human can possibly do. Just don't be an ass about it. It's like, just be humble along the way. That means I don't need to make a 2,500,000 square foot home in the middle of town, so everybody in their 500 square foot homes can look at mine and see how much better I am than you about it.
Right.
You would hope somebody doesn't do that, but that's what they do.
Yep.
I don't know. That is why you have to change. That's why it has to be. When we were talking about earlier, it has to be your decision to do that. It has to be within you. You can't say, no, we're gonna set everybody's homes to, everybody gets 1,000 square feet. Now, if you have 7 people,
that's 7,000 square feet.
you get 7,000 square feet. But as soon as one person moves out, you get moved to a 6,000 square foot home. Blah 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 blah. Right? And if there's nobody with 7 people, that house is vacant, or is used community for something else. Right? I mean, and then we have to cut everything down and make everything exact same so that somebody else isn't bitching about how they got the blue house and you got the red house. And
No, I think that a perfect, or the one that works the best, is you have people living so far apart from each other, where this person has a family and a wife and stuff, and this person has a family and a wife and stuff, and they're so isolated from the rest of the world that when they do see another human, they're nothing but friendly. It's kind of like when I was in criminal justice, we'd go to these maximum security prisons where people are in solitary. And when you walk into a regular prison, general population, everybody starts screaming, hooting and hollering, and going, fresh meat, bring that sweet white ass over here, that kind of stuff. But when you go to a place where everybody's been isolated, they just want to talk to you. So they're the sweetest, nicest, kindest people you'd ever meet in your life. And that's why back in the Old West, these people that lived on a farm, never saw anybody. When they would go to town, that was like a big deal to them. And that's what we need.
that's what we need.
Yes.
How many people we got a cult?
Because when you start smashing people together into cities, then humans, being the natural, fearful people that they are, they start making up stories, manufacturing stuff, and fucking, figuring out a way, that they can, screw over this guy because he deserves it, and kill this guy because he definitely deserves it, and all this kind of shit. They're always trying to.
Well, what came first, the mafia or the police?
Mafia, probably. Maybe. That's a good question.
I don't know. I mean,
because police have been around forever.
yeah.
But
why? I mean, but most people bring in police.
because the police used to be basically glorified tax collectors.
Or
So,
just soldiers.
yeah. But they were the ones that, if you didn't pay your taxes, they'd beat the shit out of you and burn down your house. So,
Yeah,
maybe
but-
police?
But I think Rome, you just had soldiers who patrolled, who kept peace in the streets, like
Mhm.
regular cops, But why did they have? But did they put the? Did people then do crime to skirt around them, or did they put them on the streets to prevent crime that was happening? Or were they just simply just a show of force, a show of power? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm getting at is that
I personally think that the police were originally there to protect nobles and nobles' property. Other than that, who gives a shit about the peasant who just beat the crap out of another peasant for an apple?
because Rome understood the power of the mob, and there wasn't enough noblemen to band together to fight against the mob,
Mm-hmm.
So they had people on the street to control the mob, or to make it safe for the mob, so the mob didn't rise up against them. But I guess what I'm getting at is, it's the chicken and the egg thing. It's are people? It's like with the gun thing. If you take guns away, does that just mean you're going to have more mafia and gangs run around, physically opposing their will on common people?
Yes.
Or have people gotten to the point where we take away guns, people are just going to be nice to each other?
No. But I'm pretty jaded on that subject.
Right, and I'm pretty much inclined to think that until we can solve behavioral issues around, Marty's 6'5", 280. He's going to impose his will on some people. if he wants to.
Right.
Right? I mean, if he wants to, he can push some people around.
Well, what's funny is, if you,
And we want to see that Tom Cruise beats people up all the time in his movies, but 5'9", has a tough time.
right.
5'5", maybe 6.
Mm-hmm. When in the very first Batman, Christopher Nolan, not first Batman, in the Christopher Nolan's first Batman, Batman Begins, Bruce Wayne runs away, basically, to live life on the streets. And, Ra's al Ghul asks him at one point, and he's like, so, what did you learn? Did you, and he's like, about man. And he's like, well, the first time I had to steal to survive, it kind of shed the notions of why people do crime. And he doesn't really expand on that thought or that line in the movie. I kind of wish he would have, because, me in this book I'm writing, I'm trying to explore why men, do certain things, and like why a person steals is pretty simple to me, because it once again it starts out with the fear, oh shit, I'm going to starve, if it's that, if they're stealing for food, and it's easy for them to justify that in their mind and to do the act. But then you got these criminals who go after these high-priced items, and once again, to me, it's the same thing. They're trying to, achieve this certain goal that they have in mind of, financial security, whatever it is, and so that's how they justify it in their mind to, pull off this one big last job, that you hear about in stories all the time. And, so the thing is I just don't know how you would ever fight that compulsion that man has to survive or to take from you so they have more.
Right. Well,
Because
I think the difference a little bit in his, the first time I had to steal food to stay alive,
mm-hmm.
well, I'm pretty sure if you went and asked for a meal, that person maybe would have given you one.
Yeah.
Most likely.
So
The difference comes when the person then says, well, I stole that meal. I don't have to work for it. I'll just steal all my meals.
right.
And then I'll steal this, I'll steal that. And then just, they keep stealing.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about right now in a group of people out there who don't want to work in our economy.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of parallel to that, right?
Right.
Well, I don't want to work, so you give me the money to buy stuff, and then, well, you gave me money for that, now I need money for a car, so give me money for a car, give me money
For a phone.
for a house, for a phone. And now we have this group of people who are essentially stealing,
To live.
to live. And they justify it by saying, well, I had to do that in order to live.
Right.
Instead of him, did he go to somebody's home and ask for a meal in exchange for some labor?
Mm-hmm.
He could have stole some bread from the store to live off. Did he go into the store and ask, can I mop? Can I do something? Can I go out and collect shopping carts for a few hours? For a loaf of bread or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then to double down on top of that, what's fascinating is how many laws, the feelings people have created to make it so you can't just give that guy money or food
Right.
for doing that labor. No, he has to fill out a W-2 form. He has to do this. He's
And then he
gotta
has
do
to pay
that.
taxes.
And instead of just being able to, here's $20, go collect carts for an hour. You come back an hour and see if you collect any carts. Hey, you did. Here's $20, or here's $5, whatever it is. You didn't collect any carts from. Kick down the road, dude.
Right.
You're obviously just looking for a handout. It's like the catering company. They can't just give the food away.
No. No, I've worked in restaurants all my life, and yes, it's hard to
How can that food just not go to food bank after?
because you have to fill out a bunch of paperwork and have a lot of different insurances. And I've worked for companies that actually do donate to the food bank, but one of them was a place called Utah Food Services. They actually did the catering for like the Delta Center type stuff.
Right, and I
But there's a lot of laws that go along with that.
they were arresting those people who were down in vans down in Skid Row handing out sandwiches and an apple and a fruit box,
Mm-hmm.
saying they can't do that.
Right. I don't get it either, but yeah, it's very illegal.
It's staggering.
Yes.
They passed these laws in liberal cities.
Yes. Yep.
It's not the poor. It's not the rich people wanting to make sure there's no poor people on the street and in their town. So don't give them any free food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's
And so
a
there's
lot of
perfect
times it's government
example.
laws that create these problems.
There's a perfect example. So how are the feelings people going to fix stuff if they create laws like this? And you're just going to give them all your guns. You're going to turn over your livelihood to them and say, fix us. And these are the kind of policies they create in these liberal cities.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, well, what's funny to me is sometimes I think a lot of these laws are created completely out of fear because they're like, one day somebody walks into the city and notices a few homeless people on the street and they go, okay, well, what we need to do is we need to build some shelters that will provide them with things and they can have, food and drinks and we can rehabilitate them and get them back into a job. And so they do that, and then suddenly they come back to their city and it's flooded with homeless people, and then they get scared. Like, holy shit. Because not all of these people can go to the shelter and get fed because there's just too many of them. So now crime has risen, and they, they're afraid to walk down the street in the city that they used to love. And so then they start creating laws that get tough on crime and get tough on businesses handing out food to homeless people because you don't want to encourage more people coming in, and it's just this cycle. And yeah, that's what happens. It's pretty soon you have this city full of, like, San Francisco, which from right now, I haven't been back there, to be honest, but right now I hear that it's just got homeless people sleeping on the street in tents and shit everywhere.
Yeah, they have to spray it all down in the morning before tourists get there. For the people who work.
Yeah.
See it. Seattle has a problem with needles.
Yep.
Colion Noir did a documentary about that. He went to Seattle, and yeah, they're having this heroin epidemic there, where they're just in the gutters, just tons of needles in the gutters every night, and so they have to come out in the morning and scoop them all up.
Fun. But yeah,
You know what the best part is we give them all fresh needles every day.
but if I could write a book where I could teach man to recognize some of these things and to just fight against it in yourself, I think that would be a good thing.
Well, that's the Bible.
Yeah, but the Bible is a series of stories. Mine, I guess it is a series of stories also. But each one has the same conclusion. It's the same path that everybody goes down.
Yeah.
I just want it to where somebody can read it and go, and just recognize, what am I scared of? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, most of that just comes out of just, I don't know, the Ten Commandments, I would imagine.
You're right. But I'm just saying, I want people to recognize it when it's happening to them, because it's happening all the time. Everybody's going down this path at every second of their life in whatever decision they're about to make. Or bad decision, I should say.
Exactly.
But I just want people to go, wait a second. Okay.
But if they don't know it's bad,
Right?
then it doesn't matter. But people know what's bad, what's wrong
Right.
at times, and they still go down it.
Everybody has morals.
So right, wow, yeah, to a degree, I guess, or what your morals are based off of. But
Because I can't think of a society in the world that is okay with stealing.
depends on what you're stealing.
Right?
Right now, they're saying if you steal some bread, it's okay because they have it and you don't, and they're rich, you're poor. So
Are we talking about the under $900 in California thing?
yeah, or just in general, they're okay with petty crime.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody that's okay with it. Especially the person that got all their shit stolen.
Yeah, it's okay to bash up that store. They got insurance. There's no morals there.
No. But that's another reason that Chappie movie was really good. Because, there's, he had a bunch of different influences that were trying to teach the robot to do something. And you had the bad guys / good guys that become good at the end, but who are trying to teach him to be a gangster and how to be a badass and how to steal shit. And then you have the creator, the maker, Dion's character, and he teaches him, very succinctly, you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. And he gives him all those, commandments, basically, and he lives by them, which is kind of neat. But it didn't take long for the bad guys to show him that, there's that one scene where Ninja they were at this place where there was dog fights, and there's this one dog that Chappie finds that's dead, and he's trying to wake it up and stuff like that, and Ninja uses that scenario to say there's two types of people, or two types of, there's either this dog or that dog, and there was another dog that was in a cage that was eating, And it's like, which do you want to be? Dead or that one? And so, that's just the nature of man.
Well, the fascinating thing is
they always find a way to justify.
Well, right. But why did Chappie follow them in the first place? Because they gave him love
Yes.
and affection, right?
Mm-hmm. Even when they took him to a place to be beaten on and set on fire, he still walks all the way back to home because that's the only people he knew.
Mm-hmm. And so then think of that now on the grand scale when if you get your love from retweeting certain people or saying bombastic things or willing to look logic and reason in the eye and then say the exact opposite and you get love for that, well, there's society right there.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. People they're willing to do that to get the love, to get the attention, and when you have that, that's a cult, and that's when people are willing to die for those things, and that's when you're in trouble.
Well, yeah, especially when you confront somebody and ask them, here's a plug for Mike Walsh. If you ask them something simple like, what is a woman? And they will get angry at you for even asking such a horrible question. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What was the best is when he went over to Africa or wherever he was and met this tribe and met the leader and asked what is a woman, and they were pretty simple about it, and it's like a woman has a vagina, has mammary glands, can produce babies and feed babies. And he's like, wow, you guys answered that fairly quickly. And he's like, can a man become a woman? And the chief actually laughs. He's like, what? All this stuff was being translated by a translator, but he explains to the chief, that men get surgeries to, and he's like, well, no matter what surgeries you get, you still can't produce children and feed children. And it's like, wow.
It's not what that professor said.
It's like, wow. It is amazing how simple that tribe made it.
Right, but so what would make that professor in the blue shirt later talk about the chickens, talking about the chickens and whether they have male, female,
right,
or if there's any characteristics between the chickens, and she just looked at him like that was the stupidest question in the world, type thing. So
no.
Where does that come from? Where is that willing to say the things that she was saying come from? It has to come from some deep love she's getting from the people that she's saying that for,
Right.
Or acceptance. History is filled with stories of what people are willing to do for acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Look at 300. What was the disfigured Spartan willing to do?
Right.
He sold out his nation
Yeah.
for acceptance, right? There's tons of stories that have that written into it.
Mm-hmm. But it is truly unique that we have reached this point in history that there's a group that is willing to lie and willing to die to protect that lie. I mean,
That's not. I mean, that's not.
dumbfounding.
I mean, Germans did it. A lot of people have done it. I mean, it's how do you get the society to the point where people have enough moral fortitude, or to be able to look at an argument like that and say, well, that's just wrong, and have the same society that doesn't create the people who exploit that over other people. Because just as people want to believe in all the transgender stuff and everything like that, you have to have a person of authority and power like that professor who's willing to use their station and privilege and
Write papers and
write paper,
nonsense.
yeah, and browbeat
Mm-hmm.
people into believing it
Right.
for the rest of the people who is
Because
following them.
that's another thing that has been destroyed in our culture. The scientific theory, I want to know when that died. Because the scientific theory says that, you have the hypothesis, you test the hypothesis, and then others come in and shit on your hypothesis and try to disprove this stuff. And that is the scientific theory. I don't think they use the word shit. But anyway, that's scientific theory. It's constantly being questioned. But nobody even follows that anymore. It's like science. I mean, when you read those emails from Dr. Fauci to some other scientists, where he just talks about destroying all these other scientists, basically, because that's science now. You get a bunch of doctors, you can find some people that are on your side, and you actively destroy other scientists that disagree with you. That's science.
You disagree. You don't prove them.
You don't
through
disprove them.
experimentation.
You don't disprove them through the scientific method. The new science is just going out and destroying the people that you disagree with.
So when did isn't it funny how you used to say, oh, a wizard was just somebody who understood alchemy and science and created things, and we thought that they were a wizard, and now it's somebody who uses words to destroy alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
It's reversed. It's fascinating. I don't know. I keep wanting to think that we turn around from this, but I don't understand how. And I go back to the Bible a lot because I keep saying how all these things that were written so long ago just keep coming back. And it just seems like, well, maybe we should just be sticking to that thing because these things keep coming around and coming around. It's because of the human nature of things. And then at the end, it talks about how the world has brought itself all together and there's a great calamity or something that's threatening humanity. And then one person rises up and says they're going to save everybody from it. And that's what leads us into Armageddon, into end times. I wish for a separation or a writing of the path, but it just seems like it's just inevitable.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder.
It just seems like we're just going down. It's just you're what Sisyphus, and you just keep trying to roll the rock of liberty up the hill, and you just keep getting pushed on back down the hole till you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do so many people just want safety and security. Well, I know why people want safety. Everybody wants safety and security.
Fear.
Fear.
Mm-hmm. But.
Fear, envy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that guy that did that's got the book up to 3 million. Laura was kind of like, oh, sure, it worked out great for him. It's like, well, I'm glad it did.
Mm-hmm.
If it worked out great for him, then maybe it'll work out great for us.
Right.
But it's like, you don't want to shit on him for
Right.
making it. I mean, he was in a different situation than us.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he could afford to pay the artists and everything to make the book and have so many of them printed already
Right.
that, he didn't have. They keep calling this the biggest crowdfunding success. And he has to keep reminding people, this wasn't crowdfunded. He's already got books printed. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a crowdfunding situation. And
Right.
so it's just easy to look at somebody else who's put in the work and been successful and then just shit on them.
Yep. Yeah.
Keeps rubbing the table and shaking my camera.
Right. Your camera's less stable than mine.
Yeah, it's because it's on that little stupid box, and he put on a more sturdier box or something.
Yep.
Oh, it's always easier to complain about somebody who's done the work and made it than do the work.
Yeah. I remember there was a quote from Jon Stewart that was one of the only quotes I remember from Jon Stewart. Is he once said, "Yeah, it's easy to be the guy in the back of the classroom throwing spitballs."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look what he did to the country. If you don't think where we're at now, it's because of men like him,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't understand history. You don't understand what he's done.
Right.
He can laugh all you want or try to shrug it off and say it was just a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
No. You became the actual news source for people.
Yep.
And so when you made a joke, ha 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 ha, they just thought that was the real information. They didn't realize that you meant, no, that's sarcasm, that was not real.
Mm-hmm.
No. You destroyed
No.
this place.
Comedians have always been one of the voices of culture.
Yeah, they're supposed to
The
point
the-
it out.
the
They're not
different-
supposed to drive it.
The difference is now it used to be, or it's, kind of is still today, but it used to be that it was hundreds, thousands, millions of voices giving their opinions, getting the punchlines, getting the laughs, changing people's minds, changing culture. But then we started doing the same thing the scientists are doing. A bunch of the comedians get together and form groups, and they shit on all the other comedians that they don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly those comedians don't get gigs, don't get jobs, don't get heard, get canceled.
Yeah, like I said, they're supposed to point out the hypocrisies, and they're not supposed to create
Yep, they are though.
hypocrisies. And that's what Stewart did.
Mm-hmm.
He created it.
Yep. That's why any of those shows that were basically spin-offs of The Daily Show, all these guys that went on with careers from that show, they all had the same voice. There wasn't a differing opinion in all of them. At all.
Nope.
So, yeah. And, you know, I would be happy with a differing opinion just if a person was honest about it. And that's why I listened to Jimmy Dore. Shout out to Jimmy Dore. He is very set in his ways. I mean, if he could have universal health care, he'd have it. But at the same time, anybody that's doing the shit that they do in Congress, you know, saying, you know, stupid shit, he points it out. I mean, it doesn't matter what side they're on. He is at least 100% honest about everything. So, but yeah,
Yeah, what's his name?
I just don't know how I'd ever
One
convince.
comedian I listened to, he was always say, I might be wrong, but I'm not lying.
Right. It's a good line. But yeah. But what's really funny to hear is because Jimmy Dore, once again, there was this group that was forming of left-wing talk show radio host type people who kind of was forming this group where they would have this voice and they would go and they'd shit on all these other, you know, talk shows. And the one thing you can say about Jimmy is because he actually used to work with, on occasion, the Young Turks, that group of idiots.
Mm-hmm.
And now they hate each other. And, you know, Jimmy Dore is a constant victim of the Young Turks' hatred. And it's just so funny to watch. But I think that, you know, what these people don't understand is as scientists, as comedians, as, you know, talk show hosts, when you start to form these groups with the idea that when you have this big group, you have some kind of power that you can smash other people with, you're doing it wrong. That should not be the reason you got into comedy. That should not be the reason that you got into the talk show host. That should not be the reason, you know, so you can form a group and be powerful. That's not the reason. I mean, that's one thing you can say about Dave Chappelle. He had the opportunity to form a big, huge group that would have all this mega power. And he said, fuck you, and he quit. So, shout out to Dave Chappelle.
Huh?
But yeah, that seems like that's the reason that these idiots will get together, is just so they'd have this bigger voice so they could scream louder and stamp everybody down. It's like, you know, just like anything else, climate change, you name it. You know, it's the person that shouts the loudest wins the argument.
Yeah. That's true.
At least in comedy, it's the person that gets the biggest laugh from the audience that wins the argument. I was watching, 'cause I love comedians, and there's a comedian right now, which is funny because it's ironic because he's from England, and he talks about, you know, relevant subjects of today, but he, you know, to me, he's way more offensive than Dave Chappelle on the same subjects that Dave Chappelle hits on, but nobody tries to tackle him and kill him at a fucking concert or whatever. But Ricky Gervais, have you ever seen him in stand-up?
Yeah.
Because there was this one stand-up that I was watching where he's talking about, he's like, you know, let's talk about women, you know, not like, you know, like modern women, you know, with big breasts and cocks. And he's talking, and he's like, you know, and he's like, and he's like, well, you shouldn't talk that way about him. And he's like, it's her, you bigot.
Yeah. That can be good.
But yeah, Gervais is funny as hell. It's her.
Yeah. Yeah. He just, yeah. He's funny at times. I mean, he's funny. It's just these guys. He's just like Penn, you know, Gillette. These guys that sometimes just want to. I don't know. They say right thing over here, but then leave something over here, and you're like, that still can't exist in the same reality.
Right.
You know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's amazing how much shit we've been able to smash into our reality. Maybe that's what it is. Somebody has a goal to take the most absurd shit they can think of and see if they can make it part of our culture. It's like, let's create a group of people who walk around all day long with bananas shoved in their ass. We don't know why, but that's what they are. They're just banana ass shovers. We'll call them banana people. It's like, okay. And pretty soon, boom, there's a group of people that like to shove bananas up their ass.
Call them banana rammers.
Banana rammers.
Banana rammers.
And yeah, pretty soon you have Bananarama.
But those are just trolls.
Yeah, I know, but if they're trolls, how do they get an entire group of people to follow them?
Just got to get one first.
Yeah, that's true.
You just say it like it's life affirming, it's life changing, and somebody else will be like, "Well, my life's pretty shitty right now."
Right. I'll give it a try.
I'll try anything to see
I'll
if
dress
it works.
up like a goat just to have sex. Sure.
Yeah, let me try that. I mean, I don't know if my life's gotten any better, but it's in there.
Right.
I met somebody that day. It must have been the banana.
Exactly.
You know, and then the next person.
My life is so much better now that I have a banana squeezed between my cheeks. I hope I just didn't start a cult.
And I can't imagine what it's going to be like. Think of that. It's going to be that on steroids when you hit the metaverse. If you ever hit a point where you really can just VR out or whatever, you know, I mean, I think VR, I mean, virtual reality, but not the way they, you know, like Ready
Player One?
Ready Player One, they wanted to make you think that he was, not unless he's on a full haptic suit.
Right.
And in a stand where he can run physically, actually have to run. Are you going to get all the sensations? You know, they make it sound like that world was great, but if you're just sitting there with a controller in your hand
Right.
and a VR thing,
Literally, your muscles are atrophying.
there's a reason why it hasn't taken off the way they think it's going to take off yet. It's because it's not as
Right.
it's not worth it. Whereas if you could go and just step into a holodeck, and then that holodeck was linked up with other holodecks so that you could go into Ready Player, that universe, but you were just in a room, but now all those rooms are kind of
Right.
linked together. That's a whole different experience, and they can somehow create smells. I don't know how they pinpoint smells and this and that, and make the floor move when you walk with it, and this or that. But see, all that just is technology that. I mean, how did two people run in the holodeck and one of them didn't run into a wall?
Right.
the
because that was one of those things
the
that
fallacy of the holodeck.
they tried to. They were trying to explain that, you know. I think it was Wesley that they were explaining that to, you know. It's like, how come you never walk into a wall? You know, it's like, well, you know, the holodeck floor moves and it'll turn, you know, and I
But
don't
then,
know.
if there was two people, we'd have to create a visual representation for each person. So if one person says still and the other person was still running, they would have to be able to move the floor for that person and still keep the visual moving with them.
Right.
Leave you standing still, or or either one of you is getting flung or run into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
guess technology just became that good. That good.
It's good.
I watched Nacho. That good. Nacho Libre.
Mm-hmm.
Not the funny ass movie. I
You-
watched Lethal Weapon.
You only make fun of me because of my science.
Those are crazy movies. The Lethal Weapon movies.
I love it. It's the best Christmas movie ever made. Well,
Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah. But Lethal Weapon's a good one.
I don't know. The Ref is pretty funny.
The Ref is hilarious. It's one of my favorites.
Hey, fucking God. Does anybody else smell cat piss? Shut up.
What smells like cat piss? Yeah, I'm not afraid of you. Pap. Great. I just beat up Santa Claus.
That's a good one. Lethal Weapon probably better than Die Hard. You know, there's just magic that happens sometimes when you put two people together.
Yes.
I wonder how they found that pairing. Be interesting. I'm sure they
I think it was just accident, honestly.
I'm sure they had Mel Gibson
Oh, yes.
in mind from the beginning.
The movie was made for him. I guarantee it.
Well, I mean, they tell you he's the lethal weapon.
Yes.
So they're not the lethal weapon.
Right.
He's the lethal weapon. I mean, it's his franchise. And what's funny is from the beginning, because I went back and looked at the cover, the poster,
Mm-hmm.
and he was always in front.
Yep.
But he got farther and farther in front as the more they made.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people did they go through, maybe reading and doing some stuff to finally find? Because that was some magical pairing. When you can find that pairing,
Mm-hmm.
it makes some good stuff.
Yep. And, you know, what I wonder is why... Because Pesci already had a big name.
Mm-hmm.
He was a huge star already. He didn't need to play that character in Lethal Weapon.
And then the character he created.
Right.
Okay. I mean, that guy's-
Whatever you need, Leo gets. Get it? I use that as an icebreaker.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like, I already got my stuff set up in that room. Okay. I'm the smallest guy here. I'll go to the smallest room.
but the way they treat him, though, you know, this one grabs, asks him a question, the other one grabs him, asks him a question, then the other one grabs him, you know. I mean, to come into that.
It's like, I know everything. And good cop, bad cop. I'm used to that. And he's like, shut up. And he's like, oh, bad cop, bad cop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally think that it was Mel Gibson's love of the Three Stooges that made them put that character in there. They wanted somebody they could actually go, boink!
Oh, shit.
Dunk!
They needed a curly.
They needed somebody And Leo fit the bill. When he breaks his nose, it's like, my nose is broken. He's like, he grabs it. It's like, then in that third movie, he's like, I'm horrible to you, Leo. It's like, and he tells that story about Froggy. Do you remember that?
I'm in the middle of it right now.
And the third one is
Yeah.
great. Was it the third one? No, the third is the cop killer bullets.
Cop
The
killer
fourth.
The fourth is when Chris Rock comes.
Yeah, the fourth is the one with the Froggy story. It's good.
What I did is I watched one of those reaction videos. It's hard to believe that some of these movies is like, really, you've gone this long and haven't watched this
Right.
movie before. But I watched the first one that way, so it was just like a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I don't need to watch that one again. So I'll just pick up number 2. So I just got done watching Reacher again.
Did you see the
Jack
TV
Reacher.
show?
Oh, yeah.
TV show is so much better than the movies.
So, okay.
Because first of all, that's what Reacher's supposed to look like.
Right. But there's 2... Okay.
Okay. Now Tom Cruise, he can play this role.
So Tom Cruise played the role great.
No, not really. But anyway.
Physically, I didn't think he was going to hurt anybody.
Right.
In the TV show, I physically didn't think anybody was going to hurt him. Until he finally has the fair fight, which still wasn't fair, but in prison. When they actually get somebody about his size come after him. But yeah, so there was a little disconnect. I thought maybe if the guy was just a little bit smaller, somewhere in between the two of them,
From the Reacher.
from the Reacher guy from this TV show and Tom Cruise, and somewhere just in the middle, because, like I said,
But you have read the books, right?
well, I understand that the whole point is he's a big dude.
He's my size or bigger.
Right, and he inflicts pain. It's just, he's going to inflict pain. What? That's not going to,
Well, no, what was great about Reacher's character is he was this big dude, but he was smart. And that's what people were scared of, was the fact that he could figure out and beat the bad guys to the punch. That's what was scary.
I don't know.
It was like, it's like fighting Batman.
The thing to me was in the TV show, you had all these people looking up at this big, massive thing of a meat and thinking, "Yeah, I'm going to kick your ass." What? You're not. You know what I mean? There's 3 of us or 4 of us.
Like, okay.
How's that going to change? He's still going to kick your ass.
Just means I have to hit harder.
It's the same. Yeah, I don't know. There's that disconnect, but I think I like what's his name playing off the. I give 0 shits about you. His Tom Cruise's that he gave, when other people but his way that he did it, I really liked that. I mean, the Reacher show is good, and if you like that, you gotta see Terminal List. I think you'll really like that one because it's pretty much the same character again.
Yeah, I like Chris Pratt though. He's cool. I need to see it.
And he's not funny. So.
Oh my God, Chris Pratt's not funny. Fuck.
Well, sometimes it gets hard for these guys not to do the funny. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what I was saying with Thor and Love and Thunder. It just got to the point where it's just like, we just be serious for a minute or two, or get some shit done. And then at the end of it, though, I kind of was wondering. I wonder if they put so much humor in it because when the bad guy was around, it was very dark. So I wonder if they were trying to
Offset that and not feel
that.
feel like DC.
I feel like it was such a dark, dreary character, but
That's the problem with DC. It's always so dark. It's like, Ryan Reynolds is right in Deadpool when he's getting his ass kicked, and he's like, "You're so angry, or you're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
That's what the cartoons did so well, you know. Batman, the animated series, that Batman was so dark. Gotham was dark. And then they did the Superman series, and Metropolis was just bright. Everything was just bright and light, and Superman was bright. So that when they did Batman v Superman in that movie, and then Gotham was just right over there from Metropolis,
Right.
you could see it, and it was the same. It was like, no. There's no way he's been running around there as the Bat doing quote-unquote criminal things, and Superman hasn't gone over there and kicked his ass yet?
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
It's not like like Superman's super hearing couldn't hear the bad guys going, "Ugh, oh, eh."
No, man, don't do that to me.
But his super hearing it ends right at the border, right there.
And then, you know, the whole thing about comics to me was, you know, is almost like Flash lived in his universe, Superman lived in his universe, Batman was in his. They were just in their cities, and and it was never like Superman and Batman were in the same universe to me, because
No,
the thing that
I think Marvel was the first comic book company to do that, to kind of smash it
Yeah.
together as a universe, and then DC went, "Oh my God, they're doing this," so they're like, "Justice League."
and even with Marvel, I know they crossed character and they did, but I still read them like it's in their own
Right.
thing, because it's the same thing that they're having their problems with right now. So where were you when Thanos was around? Oh, well, we were off doing something else. I was like, no, bitch. If you're gonna save everything, you gotta be here saving it.
Right.
You know, oh, well, you know, yeah, that was a flight to humanity, but I didn't really care about that, because I knew he could take care of it, or she could take care of it. You know, it's like, that's the problem with putting them all in the same universe.
Universe,
You have
right.
to tie them all together like that, and it's like, sometimes you just want this character over here and that one over there, and they're in their own universe doing their own things, and
Yep.
I can only imagine what the cringe fest that they are going to unleash on the X-Men.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could be.
It's going to be horrible.
It reminds me of the old days, when they would take these comic book adaptations and just screw them up royally, and I can't believe I'm going to quote the same guy twice in one podcast, quoting Jon Stewart again, when he said, when they announced that they were doing Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi ones, a long time ago with Tobey Maguire and stuff, his quote was, "By the time the Hollywood hack writers are done with Spider-Man, he'll be a retarded beetle that farts fire." And yeah, everybody was truly afraid that that's what they were going to do, was just destroy it. But luckily, the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans were pretty good.
I like them. I like them a lot. I like them better than the new ones.
Yeah. I just like Sam Raimi.
Well, you like Love and Thunder. He did Love and Thunder.
I know.
It made a lot of sense at the end when I saw that. I was like,
Yeah.
but I'm really worried about X-Men.
Oh.
X-Men was built on diversity. Its premise was diversity.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine the cringe fest they're going to have with it. Recreating all the characters and gonna make me cry.
Yeah. So when is this supposed to happen?
It's coming soon. Well, Xavier showed up in the multiverse movie,
I remember.
in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
So they mentioned another X-Men here or there in one of the other movies. So I think next year or the year after that is when it's coming, but
Well, I
it's gonna be a total cringe fest.
did hear that their choice for Wolverine was Radcliffe. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
He's got the size.
Yeah, and I've heard he's been getting jacked. But what I don't understand is why they don't just bite the bullet and go down to the UFC and find some short, stocky bruiser and say, "Hey, can you say, bub?" Okay, you're hired. Because, I mean, Boss Rutan could have fucking played him.
Yeah. Actually, what's his name? Couture, Randy Couture. So he has no hair, but
Right.
Randy Couture, he had that stocky
Yeah,
size.
yeah, I mean, Batista's way too large, but, I mean, I don't understand why Hollywood sometimes throws their hands up in the air and goes, "Can't find a muscular guy. Fuck it."
Right. I don't know if they meant to have the whole universe revolve around Wolverine there. Or
Well,
if he just became the standout character from the movie.
yeah, it's because Jackman's Jackman. I mean, anything he's in, he kind of stands out. Even in Chappie as the bad guy, he stood out,
Mhm.
you know. But, yeah, I mean, but yeah, I would like to see a short Wolverine. That'd be great. Because that's one of the things that I miss from the comic books is how many times people make fun of his size in the comic books. I mean, it's a reoccurring joke, you know.
Daniel Radcliffe. He has such a nice voice.
Yeah, he's gonna have to.
I mean, it's just he's so. It's just so nice,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even when he played that dead guy, he was nice.
right? I mean,
Did you ever see that Swiss Army Man?
yeah, that was the weirdest ass movie. I did not turn out the way I thought it was.
No, it was weird.
But he just has this niceness about him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just don't see him a cigar smoking, beer swiggling country boy saying, "Bub, hey bub."
Right.
There's only two things certain in this life. This ain't taxes.
But yeah. I
love
mean,
my old X-Men comics.
I don't know if I still just don't comprehend why they don't go through the process of doing a huge casting call.
Well,
I mean,
back then
you know,
they were
screw.
worried about it. You know, I mean, look at their uniforms. They weren't nothing near what their X-Men uniforms were. And
Right. But I'm just mean a casting call. I mean, it seems like Hollywood doesn't do like open casting calls anymore. The writer or director or somebody makes a bunch of suggestions and they run through those suggestions and find the one that they think fits.
I mean,
That's
they could have got. What about Rorschach? The guy who played Rorschach
Yeah,
dyed his hair,
Right,
beefed him up.
right. Yep.
They could have played him.
He was kind of skinny, but yeah. I mean,
But they were playing it so safe. I mean, you look at now. You just look at that multiverse movie, that Doctor Strange movie, and you watch that, and you look at the characters they introduced in that, the worlds they went to, and you're like, wow, this is a comic book coming to life. This is just somebody's imagination running so far wild that they just said, have at it and do whatever you want. Just like in the comics. Whereas, look back at those early X-Men movies, and they were still trying to figure out how do we make sure this exists in the real world? How do we get normal people to buy into this? Now we're at the point where, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Big purple guy, big green guy, whatever, this, that. We're in.
Yep. Also, I one of the things that I would do with the X-Men is I would definitely increase their budget, because it seems like you saw Avengers and you got this CG character fighting CG monsters, and it worked, and it was great because nobody had ever seen it, because in the past, the Incredible Hulk was played by Lou Ferrigno, and it's like, it had to be CG. There was no other way to do it right, because he gets huge, and he gets bigger and bigger as time goes on. But every time I watch the X-Men movies, I'm always depressed because my favorite character is not CG. They always do an actor dressed in blue.
The Beast.
Beast.
Well,
And
one of mine was Colossus.
it
Same thing.
needs to be CG.
And even the Colossus that was in Deadpool,
That's CG.
he was close, but he still wasn't. My favorite.
I think
version
they
of
did
him-
the best job on Colossus that anybody's ever done.
Oh yeah, but there's only been one or two.
Yeah.
But my favorite Colossus is from Mark Silverstreet's Colossus, where he kind of made him chrome.
Did it have the lines?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
still had all the lines, but he was more chrome looking. It was shiny.
Yeah.
I like that.
But yeah, I mean, I just don't know why they. Because, I mean, another one of my favorite Marvel characters was originally CD and has stayed CG. He was originally CG and he has stayed CG throughout the entire franchise that they created. My second favorite character in the Marvel Universe, I know I'm boring, because most people say Wolverine almost immediately, but my favorite character was Beast, and my second favorite character is Rocket Raccoon. They didn't screw him up.
It's because he came farther down the line.
Right. They had already spent a bunch of money on other movies, and they said, "Here, have a shit ton of money. Make this movie."
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's like, okay. Well, fine. Do a George Lucas and go back in the X-Men and CG fucking Beast in. It'll make the movie better. Because, I like Kelsey Grammer, but having Kelsey Grammer play the Beast really wasn't that great.
No. He wasn't the Beast.
And then that other kid, yes, the makeup is fine, but he's just not big enough.
Well, those they took so much out of context, you know, characters and everything. It's just, I don't know if they did any of the characters right in those movies.
No. Yep. Basically, they don't.
Even having to take Jennifer Lawrence all the way down to just, they didn't even put her in clothes. Mystique at least wears clothes.
Yeah.
Even in the comic, I mean, I don't know why she had to be completely bare the whole time.
Well, she did it, but she wasn't the first. It was Stamos' wife, or ex-wife, Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah.
She did it first.
Yeah.
She was pretty much
Same
naked
thing.
the whole damn time.
Yeah, same thing. I don't know why they had to change the character that way.
Well, I think that Rebecca's mystique is what they were basing what's her name's mystique on.
Yeah.
Because Mystique, I think, especially the fight scene between
Those are in the same universe.
when Rebecca's fighting Wolverine in the first X-Men, and she's kicking everybody's ass and doing all this cool shit. I think everybody that's watching went, "Holy shit, she's cool," and they had to keep it
Yeah.
because she was a badass.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Well, they didn't do anybody's uniforms, right? So it doesn't really matter.
Right. Although it was good that they were able to insert jokes there when he's like looking at the uniform and it keeps on making that leather squeaking noise, you know, and he's like, "You guys actually wear these?" And he's like, "Well, what? Would you rather have yellow spandex?"
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, they could have done like the type of suits that they wear that do Spider-Man in. Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I digress.
Well, anyway, how much time have we wasted?
3 hours.
We haven't wasted.
8
This is not a
minutes.
waste. This is entertainment at its highest. Anyway, I think we can wrap up. I didn't do an introduction at the very beginning. This is burnoutstudios.com. Go to our website, like this show, subscribe. Let's see here. What else is there? The stories that we're working on right now.
Tell a friend.
We got A Town Called Liberty. We'll be done with that probably pretty quick. We have Shattered Time. Shattered Time actually is a graphic novel that we're working on, a graphic novel series that we're working on, and also it's a series of novels that I wrote, and I'm actually reading those on Spotify. You can find it under Shattered Time. Convenient. And yeah, it's Shattered Time by Marty Rasmussen. You'll see it. And so yeah, all the ways to jump into our minds, because that's really what you're doing, is listening to what we have in our head.
This is true.
So welcome to our mind. Thank you for sticking around for 2 hours. 3 hours, whatever.
All right. Later.
Thank you.